the last breaking news from our company. But I would like to first start by saying that this is probably one of the best IAC events I've been to in the last years. I don't know if it's due to the Australian air, or the people coming over, or the fact that this is the first time that Sky and Space Global is attending, but in any case, this is a really, really good event. We've had wonderful networking through the entire week, and I'm sure you all felt the same way. So, let's move forward by getting into the vibe of Sky and Space Global.
I think
please turn down the light on stage.
That we live in a world of constant change, in which the ability to communicate is that simple. And it's clear to see today that around the world the availability of communication is what affects the magnitude of change. Communication is not only the essence of being human, it is also a vital property of life. It's a vital property of change. Communication affects and enables every detail in our daily lives. Communication enables commerce. Commerce enables prosperity. Prosperity enables the future. By 2020, we will begin to provide affordable voice, data, and instant messaging services to anyone, anywhere, anytime.
We work very hard every day to develop the technology, to talk to the customers, to the investors, to the partners, to the industry players. But in each and every moment, we think about the values that drive us, the vision that drives us forward. So we believe that communication is a vital property of life. It's a basic human right, and anyone should be able to pick up the phone and just do a very simple thing like do a phone call or send a text message. And there are over 3 billion people living in the world today in areas where the infrastructure is just not sufficient or non-existent. And we believe that we would be able to provide them with affordable communication services to anyone, to anywhere, and any time. Some quick facts about Sky and Space Global, if you haven't heard about us until now. So the company was incorporated in less than 2 years ago in the UK. We did what is called a reversed takeover or reversed merger into an existing ASX company, and we became a listed Australian Stock Exchange company on May 2016, just 14 months ago. We've done some capital raising rounds, all in all $20 million, and we have 3 working satellites in space, which I will talk about in the next few slides, and tell you what are we doing with them. We're a kind of a schizophrenic company because our vision is, well, may at first look seem to be contradicting. Because on the one hand, we're thinking very, very small. We're a nanosatellites company. Our first satellites are 3 kilograms, about this size, half a shoebox. and the next ones will be not much larger than this. We're thinking very small about the CapEx. If you compare the required investment into a company like ours, a new space company, working on nanosatellites with a unique business model and disruptive technology, it's something like 5% of a similar traditional non-new space company. And we're thinking very low about the risk, because what we're doing is we're not reinventing the wheel or reinventing the sensor or the payload. We're using space-proven or space-qualified technology and taking advantage of the fact that throughout the world there are many companies and many industries pushing forward and pulling forward the CubeSats and the nanosatellites technologies and components. But on the other hand, we're thinking very, very big. We believe that we will have a huge impact on society once our constellation of 200 satellites is up and running, and this is going to happen in 2 years from now. We believe that once you allow people to be connected, you have better education, better healthcare, better governance, better financial systems. Everything improves once you have the ability to communicate. But not only that, we're thinking very big about the connectivity. We will have 200 satellites connected to each other, creating an artificial intelligence network in space, automated, autonomous, without the use of any ground stations to control either the satellites or the network itself. And we're thinking very big about the revenues. By utilizing this disruptive technology, what we're doing is we're creating a new business model with high profit margins. These are the areas that we will cover. The equatorial region, anywhere between 15 degrees north to 15 degrees south, where, as you can see, most of the underdeveloped countries live in. Vast areas without any infrastructure, without running water, and certainly without any 3G or 4G connectivity. What you see here is a simulation of our constellation. So you can see 200 satellites in 5 different orbital planes, circling the Earth, orbiting it, controlled, as I've said, autonomously and automatically, and providing a 24/7 service in between 15 degrees latitude, so that wherever you are in this region, you would be able to connect actually to the rest of the world through our gateways in our system. Now, I'm going to talk mainly about what we did a few weeks ago, which is the world's first ever phone call using nanosatellites. But in order to understand that, you need to take a look at what we've done so far. In order to understand how can you, within 2.5 months from launching a satellite, reach such a world-breaking hurdle, you need to look back and see what we've done in 18 months. So on May 31st, we were listed. Immediately afterwards, we started building 3 satellites, contracted a launch, contracted new customers, did some additional fundraising, registered frequencies, licensed the satellite, insured the satellites, and close to the end of 2016, just a few months after we started working, we got a call from Frost & Sullivan, who told us that we have been awarded the Global Innovation Award for technology. We were very happy about that, but we said, it's probably given each year to a new startup that nobody heard of. Who were the previous winners, we asked, and we were informed that the previous winners were Viasat, Cisco, AT&T. So this was a huge appreciation and validation of what we're doing, because it was an external view and analysis of what we were doing. And you can see us 3, Meidat Pariente, Jonathan Shrama, and myself, the 3 partners and founders of the company, very, very happy to receive this award. But we didn't stop there. We moved very quickly to the next stage, signing contracts with the US DoD, with the UK DoD, kicking off the constellation. We didn't wait until we would have 3 satellites in space, but we've signed a contract for a full constellation more than 6 months ago. We've signed a contract for dedicated launches to the equatorial region with Virgin Orbit a year ago. And on June 23rd, 2017, our 3 satellites were launched into space, and this is what it looked like when we were sitting at the ISRO site waiting for the PSLV to be launched. If we can raise the volume a bit so we can hear the soundtrack of the movie. Anyway, it's a soundtrack of a launch, so it's a lot of noise.
7, 6, 5,
A bit more.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0, +1, 2, 3.
It's always nice to see a rocket takes off to space, especially when it's successful. And this was a highly successful launch with over 30 satellites on it, a prime payload, and we were one of the smaller payloads ride-sharing this rocket to space. Our satellites were deployed on time, 20-something minutes after liftoff. So what's the timeline to get to a world first, such as a first phone call on nanosatellites? As I've said, on June 23rd, we launched the satellites. Very exciting moment. And within a few hours afterwards, we already received signals from the satellite ensuring that they are healthy, they're fine, everything's good. And a day later, we were able to start our in-orbit testing procedure. It takes a lot of time. We said it would take us 6 to 8 months. That was our estimation. Now, we knew we can start testing our payloads way before that, but we wanted to ensure we test each and every system. 2 days later, we announced that the satellites are fully functional. Immediately after that, we started doing what was never done before, and this is try and create a formation of satellites using no propulsion, but only differential drag. Part of what we do is keep our satellites at a certain distance, at a certain relative distance from one another. And without no propulsion, how can you do that? Well, we have devised a way to do that using differential drag, and we're the first ones to do that. Less than a month after the launch, we have tested inter-satellite links between nanosatellites for the first time in history, up to 2 megasymbols per second. Never been done before, up to 2,000 kilometers between the end of the chain of satellites. And as I've said, formation flying by the mid-July or end July, and 21st of August, exactly 7 weeks from launch, or 7.5 weeks from launch, we've completed the IoT and declared the satellites fully certified and ready to be operational. That was when we started to test our payload in trying to ensure that we can actually send a text message, send a recorded message, send some data, and do a phone call. And on September 5th, just 3 weeks ago, we announced that we did the first phone call. And actually, what happened was our goal was to do a gradual testing procedure. But what happened was, in the first test, where we only meant to send a text message, by the way, the text message was SAS, very short message, because we didn't know exactly what would be the performance. And then we said, okay, if that works, we'll send Sky and Space Global. If that works, we'll send anyone, anywhere, anytime, affordable communication services. And a day after, a few days after, we'll continue with the testing. What happened was we got extremely good performance, and we were able to send an image, and we were able to send a recorded message, which, by the way, was "I love you," from our CTO to his wife. And we were able to do a phone call with a very stable communication. We've done that many times ever since. Again, this is the first time in history. Just imagine using your own smartphone, connecting to a satellite 30 centimeters big, 500 kilometers in altitude, all the way from ranges of 800 kilometers, give or take, and it works. It works because technology is improving, because we're disrupting the market, and we're disrupting the way people think about nanosatellites and about the space industry itself. Just imagine what you can do. The way we do that, it's not a direct contact between your smartphone and the satellite, obviously, but we're using an interface, a hotspot with a small RF component connected to the satellites, and a small Wi-Fi component that creates a network that multiple users can hook up into in the same way that you're using your router in your home or in your business or even here at the exhibition hall. We were very excited about that because what it meant was actually we have de-risked the technology. We have proven that it works and we can go to the next stage and create this challenging 200 satellites equatorial constellation to provide these services to the people that I've talked about. But we are in the late breaking news session, and we have some real late breaking news that we have announced only 2 days ago. And this is Sky and Space Global changing the world of commercial space industry by adding cybersecurity to our protocols and to our network. So we have partnered with Checkpoint Software Technologies, which is one of the leading, if not the leader, in providing cybersecurity solutions globally. Checkpoint provides services to governments, to corporates, to financial institutions all around the world. It's a NASDAQ-traded company with a market cap of $18 billion US, a real giant. And they have partnered with us, with Sky and Space Global, to set a new standard for the space industry, creating a dual-layer protection for our system, not only protecting the customers, because the data is protected through the hotspot and through the connections to our network and out of our network, but also protecting our system as well. As you well know, there is no other company who's implementing cybersecurity measures into commercial satellite telecommunications, not on TV broadcast and not on other fields as well, other than military services. So we believe we are creating a new standard for space assets and for the space industry itself. And we're very happy about it. This is a huge thing and a transformer, a game changer for the space industry. So we're running out of time almost, and I would like to leave some time for questions. If we look into the future, what's coming up for Sky and Space Global, so as I've said, we're perfectly positioned right now because we've demonstrated that the technology works. We can now reach out to the customers, demonstrate our technology, and sign contracts for the future, for the constellation itself, because this is the real business. This is the thing that will change the world for good, and our schedule is to complete building the constellation by 2020, with first launches in 2018, late year. That's a year and a bit from now. 2019, building up the capacity, building up the number of satellites, and by 2020, according to our 2020 vision, complete that constellation. And with that, I will finish, and I will say that for all of us involved in space research, or the space industry, or space services, or applications, the sky is the lower limit. We should always dream, we should always innovate, we should not stop ourselves from doing new things and go into new endeavors just because people say it's difficult, it's tough, it's not going to work. No, we should keep pushing forward. I'd like to invite all of you to our booth, number 16. You might even win the very cool backpack that we're handing out today. And with that, I hand it over to you for questions. Thank you very much. If we can raise the lights, please. Any questions, please? Unless everything's understood. Yes, please.
There'll be a little while before you actually have your operational constellation going. What are you going to do with the 3 diamonds in the meantime?
Well, what we're doing is we're selling their services, and we're demonstrating the technology in places which are different than the equatorial region. So both for the equatorial region, for the future customers of the constellation, but also in other areas as well, and that allows us to test the market and to fully understand what is the potential. For example, is there a real business case for machine-to-machine services in specific areas of the globe? or other services as well. So we're utilizing them, we're testing them, and they're a stepping stone for the commercial service of the company. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and please come. Oh, one more question over there. Yes, please.
Saying that spectrum is very limited. Does SAS have a plan in terms of acquiring spectrum for their satellite constellation?
Well, spectrum is not limited at all. Because we are a narrow-band services provider, we do not need a lot of spectrum. And we have registered 30 megahertz on the S-band part of the spectrum, which is way, way more than we need to actually provide our services. If you consider the kind of low data rate services that we are talking about, anywhere from the low end of IoT, machine-to-machine, up to the most demanding phone calls, you'd see that actually we're fine. And we have registered our frequency with the ITU through Ofcom, the British administration. Actually, we're just about to receive our bring into use because it's almost been 90 days since we, well, it's been 90 days, right? Since we launched the satellite, so it's going to happen any day now. And we're on the right track for getting the final licenses, which usually takes years by years by years because the coordination stage is extremely long for anyone who's familiar with the process here in the audience. Yes, please. You're talking about the aspect of space debris and collisions or the aspect of spectrum? Both, okay. Well, the constellation will be at an altitude of 700 to 750 kilometers, and there will be roughly 40 satellites per each orbital plane. Each orbital plane will be in a slightly different altitude, and we're managing our constellation, as I've said, controlling the distance, controlling the altitude, and ensuring that we have no encounters within that. Now, the orbits that we have selected are relatively free. There are almost no satellites in these orbits today, so we will be the first to utilize these equatorial orbits. As you know, the equatorial region has been completely ignored for the last decades, other than the geosatellites, which are, of course, way high. Everybody wants to go SSO or polar. Nobody wants to go to an equatorial orbit. We're probably the first to actually provide a business case for the launch providers. So companies like Virgin, like Rocket Lab, like others are looking into equatorial launches. Guess what? Because of Sky and Space Global, not because of anything else. Now, as far as the spectrum is concerned, since we are coordinating, and since we are using S-band and not KU, KA, it makes things a lot easier when working with geo operators and coordinating this with them. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.